causing issues that make you feel that bloat. Or what can happen too is it creates craters inside your intestine. You're supposed to have this nice mucosal lining that's all protective, but when it produces itself in this nice tight matrix of a bunch of different kinds of yeasts as well as heavy metals, which they eat heavy metals, they're allelopathic, meaning they secrete things that kill off your mucosal lining and make it so there's availability for penetrating places it should.
What kills the mucosal lining?
There's different chemicals. We can call them antibiotics if we want, because antibiotics come from mold. You know, that's how we discovered penicillin and all that, from the penicillium mold. But also different yeasts have different antibiotics as well that will kill that off, because it's allelopathy. Another one you might know is the pine tree. Pine trees drop pine needles. They change the acidity of the soil, and that's why pine forests are like almost all pine forests, maybe a few birches. But for the most part, that's what we're dealing with, right? So when this happens, now you have no mucosal lining. You could eat something with a lectin, which is literally in everything. It's in all the grains. It's in all the nightshades. It's in all, like, most of the things you take pleasure in eating, seeds, nuts, whatever it is. And these lectins will scratch in it now. You have things leaking in you. We call that leaky gut. Okay? Leaky gut is horrible. There's a chemical called LPS, lipopolysaccharide. And lipopolysaccharide is the coating around all the bacteria that you have. So you're not going to get rid of it. What it does, they injected people just to see what it did. Within a half hour, they were suicidal.
You're saying lectins are bad? You're not saying that.
Lectins are not bad, but lectins, if you're in a bad situation, can be bad.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like hammers.
I'm fine. I'm totally fine.
It sucks.
Yeah.
So anyway, you have leaky gut. This LPS leaks in you. So they did a really cute study involving mice, and they did like nose pokes, and they would have them. They nose poke, and they get food immediately. It was like grain. And if they poked their nose on this other one, they could wait 10 minutes and couldn't do any other pokes, and then they get fed chocolate. Yeah, exactly. Right? So most of them are like, yeah, we'll do the chocolate, right? They inject them with LPS, and they all ignore the chocolate. They're like, we need immediate reward now. And that's partially how it makes people suicidal. It makes it so you have no way to escape these thoughts, that there's no lateral thinking.
Makes a lot of sense with how society's functioning these days.
And that's the thing. 70% of everybody in the U.S. is functioning with LPS constantly leaking. And the other 30%, sometimes. So what it looks like is you have no ability to cure things or solve things that are already put on the side. Like, my list of things to do looks like this. You need to get a car. Before you do that, you got to get money, right? Before you get the money, you have to get a job, right? For the job, maybe the resume. And so I purposely induced LPS. He was there at my house, and I'm going crazy. And I'm doing this in my head. I'm like, fuck, I need a car. I'm like, wow, I need the money. Oh, yeah, and I got to get the job. And then the resume. Damn, I need a car. And you get stuck in these loops, and you can't escape them because you have no lateral thinking. Something you've already solved is no longer solved. And then you push it to the back of your brain, and you're like, and there's a hole in my roof. And my friends are here, and I don't think they like me. And this guy fucking loves me, and I love him back. You know, what am I saying to myself? And it just keeps compounding. So that's how the LPS makes people go crazy. Well, here's what happened. After I had this extreme LPS situation, I took a nap, and I came back, and I took another nap, and I came back. And I'm like, oh, God, I might have to put this house under someone else's name. And I said, well, if I'm going to do that, like basically off myself, I'm going to do that, I'm going to see this thing through, because I did one really successful yeast cleanse that wiped out everything. I no ate meat for a month and a half. It was so wild. I told all my friends, and they're like, well, do me. And I'm like, this is a straight up exorcism. You will die. Like, it'll go through your kidneys, through your liver. It's a problem. So this is the safer route that I did. This is the slow burn, and it's way better because you never feel like you want to kill yourself. So I'd say that's a pretty big positive. Also, because of that, so when I was with him and I was going crazy, and I'm like, dude, I need to just figure this out. I'm like, fine, I'm going to take this antifungal I've been playing with. I'm going to try just a little bit. I'm gonna do as heavy a dose as I can. Just keep going until if my kidneys and liver fail, it's worth it because I need to know that I can see this thing through. So then I go up to this new antifungal and I grab a teaspoon. And I go, oh my God, that's why I feel this way. I just did this 2 days ago. That's the other thing about yeast. It's really powerful. It'll make it so you forget everything that's going on. So I immediately took a binder. I took some diatomaceous earth, which is something I also provide here. In the cases where people's lips blew up or whatever, and then herpes remission, whatever, I've given them this diatomaceous earth, and it pretty much reverses all of that because it soaks up all those toxins that are coming through you and helps you, especially if it's psychological stuff. So my buddy Tarek, he's about to be here too. He's a really successful case. He said, man, I have brain fog all the time. I said, you're probably going to get a lot of brain fog. Day 4, he's like, dude, I don't know what to do with myself. I said, hey, I got you. Take this diatomaceous earth, and this is the most important day of your life. Here's why. You're going to write down everything you feel. Everything that you feel now is something that other people are feeling all the time, and you have the privilege to get rid of this. He goes, oh, fuck, how is this going to happen? I said, just take this diatomaceous earth. When I took mine, within an hour, I started feeling better. Within 3 hours, I was like back to normal. I'm like, oh my God. I literally just stared the devil in his face. And for that reason, to that point, if you read ancient writings, the patristic writings, Babylonian texts, ancient Persian texts, the Bible, Old Testament, New Testament, they interchangeably use the word leavening, yeast, the devil, and sin. And it's because it makes you sin. And the way it works is it works in your dreams. All right, so I have a regimen that I follow, and the goal is to, again, make you into a factory for your own medicine, for your own dopamine, for your own things that solve deep traumas. You know, so lesson of that dream was I can do things that aren't necessarily what everybody wants me to do, but I am still of value, even though I wasn't everything that was expected. I have so many years of memories that I cherish. So what I do is I do 2 ounces in the morning, 2 ounces in the evening on an empty stomach. The goal is let's get this culture in you. We're building a cult. You can honor my brother greater. And so what I've done with this too is I've created this as a vehicle for, since it seems to solve like 70% of the problems that old people complain about in their old age, which is a lot of what we complain about too, but like 90% of the way.
You said Alzheimer's.
I reversed my grandpa's Alzheimer's.
Doesn't medium chain fatty acids take care of the memory loss on things like dementia and stuff like this?
I don't know, and I have heard about that. And part of the reason is because there's 3 main acids in MCT. Like there's lauric acid, there's what's the other 2? They almost sound the same, but those 3 acids, they're very antifungal, which is good. And so that wipes it out. But what Alzheimer's is, and I'm glad you brought that up, is because Alzheimer's, they thought for years, there was one study that said Alzheimer's is caused by beta amyloid plaques. Because every brain we've ever dissected that has Alzheimer's has beta amyloid plaques. So it's obvious, right? But that's the big thing about our Western medicine system is it's always backwards. Let's cure the symptoms. What they found, so there's these 3 drug companies that were in a race who can come up with the first drug to wipe the beta amyloid plaques, and they got them. They're like, yes, we're going to human trials with this. And so they bring it. And there were people who had several years remaining, and they took it. They're like, yes, wiping the plaques. And within a month, they all crumbled, every single one of them.
Like died or just?
Yes. They just went away.
Because it's a symptom.
Oops. So what happened? Here's what happened. So in the turf war between bacteria and yeast, when bacteria is losing, it will make its own housing. And what that looks like is a plaque. A beta amyloid plaque is one of them. It looks like that in your heart. It looks like that in your teeth. By the way, I don't get plaque on my teeth anymore. I used to go to the dentist and they'd be like, okay, we're going to do the bottoms, but you're going to have to come back after whatever we're doing to do the tops too. And so now I'm like in and out in like 5-10 minutes because it's like easy. Like it just doesn't become that hard harder.
Why is that? Because the body,
Because
bacteria, yeast.
when the yeast grows, the bacteria make new housing. And so what happened with these people who crumbled is they had a barracks, the last stand that was going up against it. And we wiped the barracks. And so now they have no more bacteria holding strong. And it's a shame. There's a lot of stuff like that. If you don't have it in your teeth, you don't have it in your brain, chances are, or in your heart, or in your arteries and everything. So you can cure that stuff. So this stuff is basically removing heart disease, making it a thing.
This has nothing to do with like story 3, like the photon stuff you're talking about earlier, or the energy stuff.
No, but with the photon stuff I'm talking about, I'm wanting to replicate that and get those frequencies, those healing frequencies that probiotics do. So to catch you guys up, there's long story short, probiotics and other things in you are basically LEDs inside your body, and they've shown it in a number of studies. Actually, I'll tell you about that. So there's this guy Jack Cruz. It's really interesting stuff. Jack Cruz is a doctor. He does brain surgery, right? And when he takes the caps off the skulls, he has this red light that goes on there, and he says it's healing. Okay, and it is. And what I love about him is he goes on these podcasts and goes with Andrew Huberman or like any of these main people, and they start out like, "You're an idiot, Jack. You can't just say stuff like that." And what they're doing is going through these stages of grief, because at the end of it, they go, "Oh my God, Jack, you were onto something." And so here's what that looks like. He's talking about, so there's something called a band gap of an element. You guys heard of band gap?
I have.
Okay. So every one of these atoms has electron shells, right? And an electron can jump from one shell to an outer shell. That distance is the band gap. And it's basically like cracking a whip, and when you crack that whip, a photon comes out of that same exact wavelength. In light terms, wavelength equals color. If I tell you the wavelength, you can tell me, oh, that's a red. I tell you wavelength, you'd be like, oh, that's more of a green.
Yeah.
Okay? So every one of these adjustments will create colors. Okay? Now, the reverse of that is, so you're adding electricity in the system, creating a color. That's called an LED. The reverse of that is I'm adding light to it, and it's creating electricity. So it's making the electron jump basically the other way, and it flows through. That's all, like solar panels, photovoltaics, exactly. So silicon has a band gap equal to the same wavelength as certain UVs. Okay? You put UV on it, it creates electricity. Amazing, right? So Jack Cruz says, he asked the question, what other elements have this same band gap in the ultraviolet range? And he goes, well, I found sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium, which are the top 4 electrolytes in your body. In other words, we're batteries. We are solar panels. You need to get light on us. And first thing in the morning, you get light, and you're starting to charge up.
If you're clean, if you're clear.
What do you mean?
Well, the yeast doesn't affect that.
Well, I don't know if yeast affects that. I do know that seed oils affect that. So seed oils that have been pressed using extreme amounts of heat and pressure, what that does is it makes it so there's 4 aldehydes, like formaldehyde, that it degrades into, and it gets stuck in your system, and because they're already oxidized, well, you inhale oxygen, you eat carbon, and you exhale carbon dioxide. Since these are already oxidized, you have an oxidized carbon something or other, you inhale oxygen, doesn't do shit, and it builds up in you.
Sesame oil?
Sesame oil is typically pretty good because they cold press it, but we're talking about canola oil, soybean oil, a lot of sunflower oil, any of these.
Good, because that's the only one I
They
do.
can be. So there's cold pressed avocado. You have to look up your company. The same with olive oil. If your olive oil has no flavor, chances are they cut it with some other kind of oil. But even avocado oil, you can get some more oil out of the nut. So they do that. Like some companies make guacamole and then they get all the nuts and then they turn that into something.
So it's the process.
It's a processing. And you'll notice, like, if you go to the aisle, these oils don't have flavors in them. They're all the same color. They've been bleached. They've been extreme amounts of
It's like
pressure and
decaf
heat.
coffee, right? Where they use, is it like decaf coffee where they use some decaf coffee? They use basically floor cleaner.
So yeah,
Decaf.
that's different because they're using different chemicals. This is extreme amounts of heat
Okay.
and pressure.
Works
Like
it.
they're
Works
pressure
it.
cookers. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they get this out of there and then they bleach it afterwards.
Yeah.
So
Like
when
cancer.
those aldehydes build up, you get macular degeneration. So you start losing your eyesight. You can get cataracts. You can get.
Hey, Drew, do you have a lighter?
I don't, unfortunately. You can crack
I
one of
think.
these bulbs
Oh, I
open.
put.
They go to sleep.
Hey, brother, man. Thanks for hanging out.
in the car.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for stopping by. So with these aldehydes from the solar or from the seed oils,
What time is your
you're teaching the other class for a letter.
John's one of my
I have a
favorites.
lighter here.
John's one of my favorite yoga teachers.
Come tomorrow, 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
Animal class.
He likes to
Night,
explain
brother.
the boxes. I remember there was a retreat that we went to. Look your partner in the eyes and